Once upon a time. Welcome to Australian Book Lovers, your destination for imagination.
Australian Book Lovers acknowledges First Nations peoples and recognises their continuous connection to country, community and to culture. We pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging, and honour the sharing of traditional stories passed down through generations. We're committed to a safe and inclusive welcome for authors and readers of all cultures and backgrounds, including people of LGBTQIA+ communities and their families.
A big warm welcome and a huge thank you for joining us for the Australian Book Lovers podcast, episode 152. Our mission is to bring fabulous Australian and Indigenous literature that spans a whole range of genres to book lovers around the globe, as well as fantastic resources and information for passionate authors looking to write their next bestseller. I'm Veronica Strachan, aka V.E. Patton, fantasy, sci-fi, memoir and picture book writer, reader of many genres. Your founder and co-host, coming to you for today from Warrawarang country, which is not my usual country. So pay my respects to the traditional owners and carers of the land down here on the coast of Victoria. And hand over to my co-host.
Yes, I am your co-host today, Laurie Bell, science fiction and fantasy author, blogger, short story writer, flash fiction writer, and coming to you from my usual place of Wurundjeri Woiwurrung country.
Beautiful. All part of the Coleen Nation, but a couple of different mobs, which is lovely, lovely, lovely. And Victoria's celebrating its first treaty, which is fantastic. So there's lots of great things happening here and at local and state government level, which is great.
Yes.
Okay, including potentially renaming some of the, or co-naming some of the landmarks and significant places in Victoria, which is fantastic.
That'd be great.
Yeah, it would be great. But we're here to talk about
books.
Words and books and all sorts of things. And I did say last time that we might have a little look at the fabulous writing and editing checklists by the fabulous K.M. Allan, who says, take your book from first draft to publication. And I'll put the cover up, but I've got my copy here. And although I haven't I've read through it because I was lucky enough to be a beta reader for Kate. And I kept thinking, oh, that'd be handy. Oh, I need to do that. Oh, I haven't done that one.
Every time I look through it, I find something else. Yep.
It's so good. It is so good. So Kate's got she's got, how to use the book. She's got writing elements. She's got outlining, drafts, word count, openings, endings, character scenes, the art of editing, rewrites, proofing and editing elements. So I thought we might have just some dip in and out a few times and see what she's got, some of the favourite things, which is fantastic. So the one I wanted to cover first of all is Deep Point of View checklist. Sounding good?
and because deep point of view is what I write in. So I found this one particularly good as a reminder for the sorts of things you need to be looking for, what to target, what things they see, because everything is coming from their point of view. So go through some of the goodies there.
Some of the goodies, all right. And of course, if you've never heard a deep point of view, you're not alone. Or if you're like Kate and you've brushed it off because you're writing third person, don't need to worry about it. This should change your mind. It's writing in a way that eliminates distance between the reader and the characters, and it overlaps the good old show don't tell rule, helps forge a character connection with the readers that will hopefully see them follow their characters across chapters and series. All right. So the big, she does a little bit of writing about each particular bit, and then at the end she's got the checklist about their point of view, which is write from the character's perspective, use internal thoughts, dialogue, observations, stick to the character's knowledge, use fewer dialogue tags and more action beats, write in an active voice, and check your info dump. So they're all of the things that are going to help you write in a deep point of view. There's related checklists as well, but I thought it would be interesting just to maybe dive into an example of using internal thoughts, dialogue,
Yeah.
observation. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Because it allows the reader to know the character on a personal level, and you'll need to know your characters intimately to pull it off. And I have a lot of internal dialogue, so it's almost like in my Ochre Dragon series,
Yeah.
Opal Dreaming Chronicles. Get it right, Veronica. You should know your book by now. But here's an example. So this is about writing, as you say, what the character sees, feels, and thinks when they walk into a room, not just a mechanical list of what's in the room. So some examples are taken from Kate's Blackbirch at the beginning. This is without internal thoughts. Out in the hallway, Josh found blue-grey walls and little else. Even the nurse's station across from his room was empty. Okay, yep, that's all right. It's neither here nor there.
It's a good description.
But with internal thoughts, out in the hallway, he found institution of blue-grey walls and little else. Why was it so silent? His goose flesh returned, but not because of the cold. He rubbed his arms. Was something watching him? He must be paranoid. There was no one around. Even the nurse's station was empty. So there you go. So instead of just, the hall was empty and he's out in the hallway and there wasn't anything there, now the sense of what's in the hallway and why was it empty and what that means in his
Why
brain.
he is reacting to it. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's something I always keep in mind with mine, particularly with my more detective characters. In Blood Fever, for example, Mish is so paranoid about a lot of what's going on.
Yeah.
Every time she steps into a room, she's checking for exits, she's checking for windows.
Yes.
So those sorts of beat and personality details you can really bring out in
Yes.
those descriptions when it's deep dive, which is what I love.
Yes. And then it's not a surprise when they react a certain way later on because you've
That's
foreshadowed
exactly
it
right.
by all of their
Yeah.
internal dialogue. And yeah, people, as Kate's got here, they
Mm.
really get to know the person and want to follow them across, chapters and series. So there you go.
Yeah.
Just a little dip into deep point of view checklist. So if that's something that you write, I know you're thinking about writing, I would certainly recommend Kate's book because it is a winner.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so
The
we might.
only thing to remember with deep dive as a
Yes.
negative
Mm-hmm.
is that you can't get into the minds of other characters unless you're doing
Yes.
multiple point of views.
Yes.
So quite often what your character knows, the reader knows something must be going on with X characters in the background, and you
Yep.
can't hint at it because your character doesn't know what's going
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
So that's probably the only negative
Yeah.
with it being the deep dive. So it can be really, really positive, but there's also, keep that in mind. It's,
Yes.
either you're adding multiple point of views, which can be tricky but doable and can be quite fun, but it is something where when you're plotting, you do need to take that into account.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very good. Very wise words from a multiple book novelist that we have here with us today. Very good. All right.
Right.
Laurie, have we got
Yes.
time for
I
some news?
a little one just for in Melbourne in November, a day in Carlton, which is running from the 13th to the 15th of November, is a festival that is opening in regard to books and writing, and author Trent Dalton is going to be chatting with Michael Williams. There's bedtime stories, there's other authors, there's other authors popping up, there's writers, including oh gosh, there's a huge list. But one of the events is the announcement of the 2025 Readings Prize winners and a performance of White Fella Yellow Tree, the Reading Poetry Gala, and the Cities of Literature Book Club. So it should be a top little long weekend, a day in Carlton. Jump onto that if you are in Victoria.
Yes.
In Carlton, really specifically.
Yeah.
And one little congratulations I want to give with Transit Lounge is acquiring our lovely Donna M. Cameron.
Yes.
So that's really exciting. So
Fantastic.
congratulations to Donna M. Cameron for that one. What news have you got?
What news have I got? Well, I did have Donna Cameron's because I always like to keep an ear out for what our writers are doing. But given I picked up this brochure last time I was down here on the Peninsula, and the Queenscliff Literary Festival. So Queenscliff is a little pocket of lots of creative and art centre. So because they also have the music festival down here, but the 2025 Queenscliff Literary Festival, they've unveiled the lineup, and it is pretty stellar. The Australian list has got Craig Silvey, Marsha Langton, Peter Grest, Bob Brown, Virginia Trioli, Alice Zaslawski, Brian Nankervis and Melissa Leong, as well as the 2025 Miles Franklin winner Xiang Liu, and two previous Stellar Prize winners, poet Evelyn Araluan, love her stuff, and Heather Rose. So they're going to host the first ever international guest in Egyptian-American journalist Omar El-Akkad, who will be talking with Antoinette Lattouf about global flashpoints, including Black Lives Matter and the genocide in Gaza. So look, it is lovely to see that Queenscliff are embracing what the previous literary festival, which we talked about last time, we won't mention it again.
That's right.
Did not.
Yeah.
And so that's fantastic. Of course, they're going to, being down here with Geelong, they've got sporting sessions with Geelong Cats, Zach Toohey, and Catherine Murphy. I do love Catherine Murphy. She's a bit of hilarious. She's an ABC journalist who does the sports, discussing their book, The Way of the Irish, and 10 times world title winning Muay Thai fighter and boxer Wayne Parr. So, mystery fans, Jane Carrow's down here, Mark Smith, and a few others. But the other thing that we've got, of course, is Jane Austen's 250th birthday, with a delightful panel discussion, afternoon tea, sparkling wine, and a Regency dance lesson. So how good is that?
I love it.
It sounds good. And there's a play reading of a new work by Germaine Greer. So a budding writers half-day workshop. So with romance writer Marion Lennox, lots and lots. Marika Hardy's got a thing happening. Discussions on Indigenous art, memoir, gardening, politics, American journalism, wellness movement, food, and more. So it is going to be absolutely gobsmacking. So it's on week one is Friday the 17th to Sunday the 19th of October. And they've got all the bits and pieces out there. And week two is Friday the 25th to Sunday the 27th of October. So there's 2 weeks that it runs across kind of a longish weekend. So jump in and have a look. And there's so many beautiful places to stay down here that really, why aren't you here?
Yeah.
But you can't stay at my place because I might be here as well. And I was going to have a go at sharing that over the ditch in the fabulous land of the long white cloud. The Kupu Māori Writers Festival has released its full program, and that's running 17 to 18 October in Rotorua. So they've got Poya Rewi, Tim Finn, Hannah Tapiata, Donovan Farnham, Mike McRoberts, JP Pamea, who pretty sure writes, definitely writes crime. Yes, is that right? I think so. Stacey Gregg and Tim Worrell. So the first day of the festival dedicated to Te Reo Māori, the Maori language, with translators and authors participating. So that's fantastic. So have a look at there. And if you're a Kiwi listening to us, please have a look at your local festival. Local if you're in Rotorua, same as if you're in Carlton for the day in Carlton, but please, there's lots of stuff happening. Support your local authors as well. So there you go. That's kind of news.
Let me just add one last really quick one. I just want, because we've been keeping people up to date with the Productivity Commission's views on AI. The ASA have rejected the proposal. So jump onto the ASA website, the Australian Society of Authors website, to have a read of the reasonings why they've rejected it, which, thank goodness that they have. And they're totally right with all of their comments, particularly in the way that it does, that the report does seek to legitimise the greatest act of copyright theft in history. So do have a read of the ASA's rejection, and that is coming from all of the ASA submitting their survey responses and commentary, and really is great advocacy for Australian authors. So do have a look at that.
Keep up with it, peeps.
Exactly. Yes. And that leads us into book spotlights, is it?
Book spotlights.
I think it is.
But have we prefaced who we're talking about today?
I was debating whether I mentioned that. So
Yes.
I am chatting with the amazing Laura Fitzwilson in relation to her book, The Fool. And this is a very fun fantasy that you do want to get a hold of. There's some really good highlights in regard to the romance with just a young royal thrust into the spotlight before he's ready, and dealing with his jester. So I think it's a great concept. We have great old chat right through from world building and particularly in relation to fantasy, but the fact that it is medieval times set but in Australia, which is such a great. It's such a clever idea, and I don't know why this hasn't been just saturated before, because it's so fun and clever. And given where I live, I can actually see a castle in Victoria.
Wow.
So
Wow.
yeah. Did you not know about that
Didn't
one?
know you had a castle out that way.
Yes, there is a castle out this way.
Ooh.
Yes, out in the very, very eastern suburbs, heading up towards Hillsville. So
Right.
indeed, which made it all the more fun listening and chatting to Laura. So we will get to that very, very shortly.
Excellent. All right. But in the meantime, as you say, it's time for Book Spotlights. We will begin our book spotlights, and we've got half a dozen to share today. The first one is The Favourite of the Harem by Cindy Davies, and this is an historical novel set against the background of the opulence of the Ottoman Empire in 1518. Russian slave Rizalka is rescued from drowning by charismatic Orhan, heir to the Sultan of Turkey. Ignoring his powerful mother's advice, he falls in love with Rizalka and takes her into his opulent harem and renames her Soraya. But she has a secret that could cost her life or have her banished. The harem is a hotbed of jealousies and intrigue. Soraya is determined to escape until she spends some intimate time with Orhan. When Soraya is unexpectedly offered her freedom, it comes at a price. There you go. Interesting. Now, born in the UK and now resident in Australia, Cindy Davies has worked and travelled in Turkey and the Middle East and speaks Turkish. She's a graduate in English literature from Sydney University. She's taught business studies and English as a second language. She's worked as a freelance writer and been a tour guide in Sydney and Turkey. She's won, how good is that for your world building? Really, well done. Yes, she's won competitions for her short stories and non-fiction pieces. Her third novel, The Favourite of the Harem, published by Odyssey Books in November 23, is an historical novel set in the harem of the Topkapi Palace in Istanbul. Her two award-winning novels, also published by Odyssey Books, are The Afghan Wife and The Revolutionary's Cousin, are set in Iran, the USA and Australia. And from May to July 2023, she was in the UK after being awarded the Professor Di Yerbury Writers Residency in 2020. She's a popular speaker at library workshops, U3A, Provost Clubs, and recently at the Rose Scott Writers Festival in Sydney.
Well, our writers are just so talented.
Aren't they just? Yeah.
So book 2, The Final Chapter by January Gilchrist. What a great name. Which is a mystery thriller. Desley's not sure how she managed it, but she's won a coveted spot at Australia's most exclusive writing retreat. If only she wasn't battling the world's worst writer's block of her life and feeling completely out of her depth next to the other authors. Already shade.
I love this. When this one was just, I thought, oh, January, you've just tapped into my brain here.
Right? Oh, my goodness. Her already shaky mental state begins to slip as stories of murders in the forest and ghosts in the house send her spiraling. So that would just give me ideas. But anyway, Colette Halifax can't shake the feeling she's being watched. The paparazzi who stalked her in Sydney have they followed her out here? Is she finally losing it? Or is there really someone out in the bush? With a scandal looming, she'll do anything to keep her secret buried, even if that means striking first. Maya is Australia's literary darling, untouchable, or so she thinks. But she's not here to make friends, she's here to make someone pay. Tavis isn't on any of the guest lists, so how did he get a place? And then there's Laurie Lawrence, Australia's most infamous poet. When a storm cuts off all communication and traps them inside, tensions rise, paranoia sets in, someone turns up dead. The final chapter is a character-driven thriller about ambition, obsession, and the stories we tell to survive. Benjamin Stevenson meets 9 perfect strangers in a story about writerly ambition, self-discovery, and, of course, revenge. Sharp, fresh, bold, thrilling, and gothic, gripping suspense from a spectacular new Australian talent. And let me tell you a bit about January. So January Gilchrist holds a Bachelor of Creative Arts, majoring in Literature and Performing Arts, and was longlisted for the 2019 Ritchell Prize. Her debut contemporary mystery, The Final Chapter, is inspired by her time at the Verona Writers' House. Now I want to know what was going on in the Writers' House at the time. Balancing her time between writing, running a Pilates studio, and raising 2 sons, January draws on her varied life experiences to create authentic, nuanced characters. Fascinated by puzzles, especially the mysteries of human behaviour, January explores the stories we tell, the secrets we keep, and the truths we hide, even from ourselves. That I have a feeling is going to interest a lot of writers out there as a book to read.
Yeah, fantastic. That's really good. All right, the next book, number 3, is Tchaikovsky, in brackets, Almost in Love by David Reiter, and it's a romance. Reiter is Reiter, just in case you need to have a quick look. So over 10 years and in thousands of letters, Tchaikovsky was immersed in a secret relationship with a musical confidant and financial benefactor. Nazeta von Meck, the wife of a wealthy engineer, became infatuated with Tchaikovsky's music as well as the man himself. Meanwhile, she counselled him about how to get free of his wife and convince. More importantly, Nazeta gave him feedback on his works in progress and provided him with a space and financial security that allowed him to compose without distraction, until one day they finally met in the woods on her estate, and the letter exchanges ceased for a time. Tchaikovsky, Almost in Love, is a multimedia play about all that and more, written in a classic verse that recalls Shakespeare. There you go, really interesting.
Multimedia play. I love the creativity that's coming through in authors at the moment. It's like, what a great idea.
All right, let me tell you a little bit about David's bio. Dr. David P. Reiter is a multi-award winning poet, writer of fiction, digital artist, and CEO of IP, an innovative print and digital publisher in Brisbane. His first picture book, Real Guns, was illustrated by Irish artist Patrick Murphy. His Project Earth Mend series of 4 children's books includes The Greenhouse Effect, Global Cooling, Tiger Tames the Min Min, and Tiger Takes the Big Apple. His second picture book, Bringing Down the Wall, illustrated by Sonia Babayanyan, was 2014 Best Book for Teens and Kids in the Canadian Children's Book Centre. An artist in residence twice at the Banff Centre for the Arts, he completed My Planet's Reunion memoir project and won the 2012 WA Premiers Award. He's currently collaborating with co-author Trevor Todd on an animation series based on their Woody and Sir Humphrey series. An earlier play, Paul and Vincent, was performed live in Brisbane before being broadcast twice on Radio National of the Australian Broadcasting Corporation. There you go.
My goodness. Wow. So, keep going. Book 4, Heart and Soul of Marketing by Matt Romania, which is a non-fiction. So a strategy and practical guide for anyone who leads, works in, or volunteers for a charity. Discover the 10-part framework to help you and your team connect deeply with your community, supporters, and donors, ultimately amplifying the positive impact of your cause. So Matt Romania has spent over 15 years crafting impactful marketing strategies for charities. Starting out as a community radio volunteer, Matt has worked as a board member for grassroots community groups, freelanced as a journalist, as well as led national advertising campaigns.
Important
So,
book.
yeah.
For often people start with a cause because of a family member or that kind of thing, but it's getting taking that
Yeah.
strategic, step into,
Mm,
okay, we want to build this into a statewide or a national or an international, and
so
what
much
can
to
we
go.
do? And yeah, that's a really good idea.
Mm,
Yep, like that one. All right.
yes.
This is one that is, of course, on our
Yes.
giveaway
Mm,
for this month. This is The Haunting of Mr. and Mrs. Stevenson by Belinda Lyons-Lee. And it's historical. It's on the historical genre page.
mhm.
So before Jekyll and Hyde, there was someone else. The Haunting of Mr. and Mrs. Stevenson is a gothic delight. It tells the story of Robert Louis Stevenson's friendship with the charming Eugene Chantrelle and the murder mystery that contributed to Robert's need to create a novel focused on the dualistic nature of the psyche. From a seance with the Shelleys at Boscombe Manor to a haunted wardrobe made by an infamous Scottish criminal, the novel is underscored by the story of two writers very much in love. Fanny and Robert were married in 1880 when she was 40 and he was 29. An American who divorced her philandering husband to marry Robert, she was already the mother of children, a self-supporting writer, and with intelligence and wit very much the rock in their relationship. Brilliantly told in Fanny's voice, this atmospheric novel is both the story of an unconventional literary relationship and a page-turning mystery that reveals the truth about the people, objects, and events that inspired Stevenson to write The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
How good does that sound? That's just
That does sound
fascinating.
really good. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. A little bit about Belinda. Now, Belinda Lyons-Lee was born in Geelong, so just down the road from where I am today, and still lives in the region with her husband and son. She has degrees in youth work, education, writing, and literature. She's been teaching English and creative writing in high schools for nearly 20 years, and the 19th century has been an obsession of hers for even longer. She's had various articles published that explore writing, vocation, mental health, and creativity. To Sword, her debut novel, was published in print and audio in 2021. There you go. So, and if
Very
you want
good.
to get a copy of the beautiful Haunting
Yes.
of Mr. and Mrs. Stevenson by Belinda Lyons, and I do love the cover. You'll see it
Yeah.
if you're watching us on Spotify or YouTube, then jump on to Australian Book. If you've already one of our subscribers to the newsletter,
Yes.
fantastic. But
Mm.
if not, jump onto the Book Lovers page, and there's a new form, and I'd like to make sure that that is working because we've just changed email platforms again, as I
Yes.
mentioned last time, and hopefully I've got that all working well. And you can jump on, and it's free. That
Mm.
doesn't cost anything. You get the newsletter once a month, more or less, usually
Mhm.
less, and you get to see, 9 to a dozen of the books that have been listed, and usually we, I try and give it to sort of three or four giveaways, and yeah, we've got
Yeah.
The Haunting of Mr. and Mrs. Stevenson, we've got Shooting Through, and we've got Cobra Pose. So those are three. And if you want to know more about them, you'll just have to
Mhm.
subscribe, and
Yes.
then you can
And go in the running
go in the
because
running.
who doesn't love free books? But
I know.
also, it gives you great ideas for books for Christmas and presents and gifts
Yes.
and all those sorts of things. So,
Yes.
and they're all Aussie books and they're all listed with
And you
us.
will be
So do it.
supporting artists
Yeah.
and giving them just a little royalty with each
Yeah.
purchase. So
Every
good. All
tiny
right.
little bit helps.
Yes. Wrap us up. I love this person, this author. Tell us about this
Yes.
one.
Oh my goodness. So, book six, Minoan Footsteps by Coleen Clare, which is a mystery. So, against the backdrop of ancient history, a modern day mystery unfolds among the mountains, beaches, and archaeological sites on the Greek islands of Crete. Four women arrive in Heraklion for a 2 week tour of the island led by Eve, known for her expertise in Minoan culture, and Bethan, who manages the daily ups and downs. Lovers, Sophia and Kelly, are hoping this trip will help them settle their differences. Yasmin from Paris is dealing with her inner demons resulting from working with war traumatized women, while Zoe from Devon is taking time out from caring for her sick daughter. They are surrounded by the women who run the hotels, the kitchens, the transport, and much of the island. Creation history, prehistory, and contemporary worlds intersect as unexpected memories and experiences burst into the present, where unknown dangers threaten to disrupt an idyllic holiday. Life changes for the 6 women who set out on the journey through Crete, following Minoan footsteps. Will any of them emerge unscathed?
I suspect not from that.
No, exactly. So Coleen Clare completed her first novel at the age of 80. Now, just that one line
Congratulations, Coleen. That is
is
absolutely
just golden.
brilliant.
Yes, absolutely. She's a lesbian, a feminist, a teacher, a psychologist, a public servant, a community advocate, and has a passion for the provision of social housing. Coleen has an extended family covering 4 generations and enjoys the lively interactions this brings to her life. She has worked with many families and has a deep understanding of family joy and trauma. Coleen lives in Australia. She was born in Aotearoa and carries an abiding love for the country and people. She has worked in New Zealand, Samoa, and Australia and has a deep respect for Indigenous peoples, intensified by her experience of the pain and joy of the adoption of a Cook Island son and a Samoan son. Storytelling has always been a passion for Coleen. As a small child, she grew up in an isolated household and began imagining and telling alternate versions of her home life in primary school. As she grew older and wiser, she learned that if you embellished the truth too much, it was called a lie. She turned her creativity to storytelling, which she used extensively as a teacher and counselor, and for several years ran a storytelling group together with art therapy. An inclination to write was always present for Coleen, but with a big family to care for through various traumas, the need to earn a living, and chronic fatigue and pain from childhood polio, there was never sufficient time. With the time afforded by retirement, Coleen began writing at the age of 72. Her pilgrimage to explore Minoan Crete with a group of women deeply inspired her to reflect on matriarchal society without war and violence. What began as trip notes from a pilgrimage in 2013 morphed into the Minoan Footsteps, her first mystery novel.
Fantastic. There you go. So congratulations, Coleen, and all our authors, but
all of our
it is
authors.
never too late. Never too late.
It really isn't. No, everyone's got a book or 2 or stories or worlds inside them. So
yeah, absolutely. And if you have got one, jump onto the website, list your book with us. This is free. Foolishly, we are still involved in this free thing. And you can list your book for free and we'll talk about it and we'll
tell everyone about it.
And tell everyone about it. And people can find Australian book lovers and lots of indie book publishers, lots of self-publishers, lots of hybrids, lots of traditional publishers all have their books here because this is the place to find Australian books all in one spot, which is fantastic. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
I think
let's get into my interview with Laura Fitzwilson.
Excellent. Here we go.
Book lovers, I am absolutely delighted to have with me today Laura Fitzwilson, who is the author of The Fool. Hello, Laura. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So good to have you here. So I'm coming to you, listeners, from my usual place in Wurundjeri Wurrung country. Where are you coming to us today from, Laura?
I'm in Wadawurrung country in regional Victoria.
Wonderful. That's such a nice spot. Is it cold there this morning?
Absolutely freezing.
Oh, yeah, always the way.
Yeah.
So I want to jump in straight away with what inspired you to write The Fool, and then I'll let all of our listeners know. We'll read your bio and go through the blurb of the book. But what inspired The Fool?
So I'm pretty sure, and like this is 5 years ago now, which is amazing efficiency for writing a book. But I'm pretty sure it was the Terry Pratchett quote that gets shared a lot. The fool jingled miserably across the floor, which is just so much fun. But it's like also something that I've it's pretty popular on Tumblr as well. You see those sort of posts crop up a lot, so it could have been any of them. And like I've loved that dynamic. Big fan of Robin Hobb's Assassin's Apprentice series and The Fool and that the dynamic there. So I thought, like sometimes you're in a mood, like you're scrolling social media, but you're just in the mood to start writing and you just don't have it yet. Um, so I got that post and I'm like, yeah, I love that dynamic. So I was sort of going, I wonder like which one of my little fan fiction buddies I can sort of shove into this dynamic. Because I'm a big fan fiction writer as well. And then I was like, hang on, this is a completely original world with completely original characters, with completely original, like it's all of it. Why am I sort of forcing it into this sort of path, which like it's fun. I love doing alternate universes, but I thought, like let's give it a go, like let's have a crack. I was in my final year of my Bachelor of Arts. I thought I've actually, I've worked on these skills for a long time. It's feeling really original and deep in my mind. And also like, I was thinking I was in that sort of place. I write with a lot of sort of American fandoms, and I was like, I'm setting more things in Australia. And I thought, yeah, castles in Australia, not just because Crow Castle and Ballarat. And yeah, just thinking like, I can do something really me with this. And oh goodness, the cat is coming for. I knew it would be as soon as the camera came on. She's
of
just
course.
She's gonna like her tail's gonna come across like a shark. I can.
So you do have two cats, don't you?
Yeah.
What are their names?
This is Peggy. I can't show her now. She's gone. I've got my laptop resting on. I've got a sewing table that's lifted up so that I can cut fabric without like hunching over like a gremlin. Best thing my stepdad's made for me. And she loves it because it's a little cave for her to go in. Caves are her favorite.
So she can watch you writing.
Exactly. Where was I? Okay. Right. So it's set in Australia. It's and like all of the characters have like complicated issues with their dads.
Well, let me tell you, listeners, all about Laura because this is going to be a fun chat. So, Laura Fitzwilson is a writer specialising in speculative fiction with a focus on people. She completed her Bachelor of Arts with distinction, double majoring in literature and creative writing in 2020 at Federation University. Her short story, All My Tuesdays, was shortlisted for the 2022 Aurealis Awards. She's also a devoted reader, a surprisingly good gardener, and a prolific crafter. She's queer, disabled, and wouldn't want to be anyone else. She writes from Wadawurrung country in regional Victoria, Australia, with the help of her husband, a dog, and two cats. It's her life's aspirations to write as fearlessly as the Fast and Furious writers do. I love that.
Like, I'm not joking when I say they're some of the best movies out. Which, like, if you're looking at any of my other interests, it doesn't make any sense. But like, they are just this masterclass in write what you want.
Yeah, and keep going.
And keep going. And keep like, cars are superheroes. Like they are so much fun. I laugh from beginning to end. I think that you're supposed to take them a bit more seriously than I do, but I just find them so funny.
That is absolutely brilliant. Oh my goodness. So with the Fool, so having mentioned that it is a bit of a medieval but Australia setting. So a little bit about the Fool. The Fool, Leo is a third-born prince forced into the throne after the death of his parents and brother. His kingdom and castle are in shambles, his family's murderers are getting bolder, and he is utterly unprepared to be king. But Leo's biggest problem is definitely the castle fool. It keeps making fun of him. He just wants to make his dead dad proud, or maybe to dismantle every shitty policy he ever made and flip off his grave a whole bunch. Of course, he might hate his new responsibilities more if there wasn't a mystery man with a bad habit of appearing every now and then to test Leo's morality. Leo doesn't want to be the kind of king who has a secret lover, but his restraint is only so strong. The assassins are creeping closer, and if Leo can't charm the neighbouring countries, it'll mean war. He'd better learn how to juggle fast. Set in a fantasy version of Australia, a cult bent on overthrowing the Empire's regime is targeting Leo and his family. This no spice, low spice, enemies to lover LGBTQ plus romantasy features a king overwhelmed by trauma and responsibility, taking refuge in his close family and the one person who doesn't expect him to be perfect, his fool. So that's such a fantastic premise. I absolutely adore the alternate reality of Earth. So how did you come up with this world building for Australia, for castles in medieval time?
Yeah, so like I love fantasy books. They're so much fun. And I wanted to write one, but I also I feel like the best sort of science fiction and fantasy books are about our world and our issues and what's important to us. And I thought, okay, so I would like to write about Australia, and why not? It's a fantasy world, so it doesn't actually have to be medieval Europe. Like that's just a thing that we do. And if I want to have castles here, then I can, especially because like our Australia has had European culture imposed upon it. Like that's basically our whole thing. So I thought, I'll get these Australiana components. You can feel it, like there's Australian animals and plants and things like that, as well as just sort of like a bit of a, like Leo's got a very dry sense of humor. Sometimes you can't tell if he's joking or not, because it's just like a bit of a comment that you sort of go, are you being really funny right now, or are you just like and yeah, I think it's like, it's a bit silly, and then I hope I've been reassured that sometimes it just sort of like kicks you in the feelings a little bit as well. So I'm thinking, have you seen like Please Like Me and Upright and those sort of TV shows, that like Taika Waititi movies, if we're going for a little bit more like that sort of Oceania. We've got the funny and the bit of slapstick, but then we're also going for a bit of a complex characters and some trauma and stuff in there as well. So I thought, how do I make this happen? Well, obviously it's got to be colonized back when castles are in fashion. And then I started thinking all about the kind of person who would do this, and here comes the cat. Look, if you're going to be on screen, you're going to have to be properly on
Exactly.
screen.
There we go. Oh, hello. I love the camera.
I had a chat with Shu Brown at the Ballarat and District Aboriginal Co-op. He's the Chief of Culture and Public Relations there, and he listened to me sort of babble on about this fantasy concept for a really long time, and he was like really kind to sort of talk it out with me. I felt like my instincts were pretty good, but like I needed to check. And it was like really lovely to have a conversation about that. So because Indigenous issues are a part of the book, I couldn't imagine writing Australia without acknowledging the fact that there were people here first. And I thought, like if this is being colonized by someone who has been like blessed by God, she's going to have probably the same kind of superiority complex that our colonizers did. There's going to be some stuff to sort of work through there. There'll be the same sort of civil rights movements and things like that like in progress. And I also, like I said, I wanted to do a reflection on our world. So at the time of when I was writing, the plebiscite was a really big thing. A lot of people were both claiming that racism didn't exist anymore while being extraordinarily racist. And I thought, like I kind of want a little bit of that flavor. My main character, the king, I don't think that he would acknowledge that, like he wouldn't be aware of those kinds of issues, like a little bit aware. His sister's very politically sort of social justice sort of way, but she's 19. Like she's a pretty well informed 19-year-old, but she's also a 19-year-old. I thought it was important for me to have characters where none of them are 100% right about anything. It's not a morality tale, and if it was, like, it would be that things are complicated and people don't know stuff.
Yeah. So how long did it take for you to write the full?
Yeah, so I looked at sort of my draft document and on Google Docs, so that's where I started writing it. You can look at the history of it and see how that developed. So I started it in like June 2020, and then I hit publish in July 2025.
Oh, fantastic. How has that writing journey been for you, from the writing to the editing stage to getting that published?
Yeah, so it was like 3.5 years of that was just first draft. I've got ADHD. Lots of other projects were sparkly and interesting. I did keep on coming back to this one every few months. I was just like, oh God, yeah, this story. And each time, I'm not sure, you probably do this with your own writing as well, where you're like, oh God, is this story any good? And then you reread it and you go,
Actually, that was a good scene. I love that.
yeah. And because it's like got a fair bit of humor in it, I like my own sense of humor. So there's probably a lot of jokes in here that are funny to me specifically, and everyone else has to just like deal with that. Yeah, so it was like the first and I'd been working it for 3.5 years, and the last year I didn't really write on it at all. But then I was like, I felt the 30 looming, and I thought I would like to have a book before I'm 30. Now that I'm past that, I'm kind of like, why was that such a big deal? I like being on this side. This side is much less, I'm so much less anxious on this side of 30 than I was on the other side. But it felt like, I want to have it before this imaginary deadline. And then I have this amazing friend, Phoenix, and they are a big fan of my writing. And I said, like, I want to do, with fan fiction, you get to release chapters, people react to them, you get that motivation to keep going. So I just want to key into that. And Phoenix said, just send the chapters to me. So I went, I'm going to do one chapter every single day for December.
Wow.
And because I'd written like 60,000 words of it, I thought I probably only got 20,000 words to go. So if I do this for a month, like the first 15 chapters, I won't really have to do all that much. I'll do a little bit of tidying, and then I'll be looking forward and, trying to run out the clock by preparing, but like, in reverse. So that worked incredibly well. And I did finish it before New Year's on that.
Well done.
2024. No, 2023. So it was new, turning into 2020, 2023. So like it has been this whole journey for that like 3 years. And then I got the first draft out, and like my mum immediately was like, I need to read it and I need you to print it out. So because I'm not reading on a screen.
Yep,
So
my
now I
mum's
have
same.
my first draft printed out with like her scribbles all over it, which is lovely. I get to keep that, which is really nice.
Yeah.
And then I edited it like crazy that whole year. I got the cover designed in January, like immediately. I was like, I've got a book finished, I need a cover.
And we will pop the cover up as well, and it is fantastic. And I'm sure for all those that are watching rather than just listening to us on Spotify, but if you're watching on YouTube as well, you get to see the cover. It's amazing. You need to get onto it.
Yeah, I love it. Matthew Revere did a fantastic job. He I explained to him about the book. We had like these really great conversations, and I said, like, I'm trying to be a little bit clever because one of the main characters is the fool, but the king is really inexperienced. He's got, some stuff to work through. Maybe he is the fool. Like, what was the title about?
Yeah.
So the cover is like this jester hat, but it's really reminiscent of a crown as well. And I was really pleased because when I look at it, I see jester hat immediately. But when I showed it to my hairdresser, she was like, "Oh, so like cool crown," and I was like, "Hey, what?" And like, I'm glad that I got, like, I was so jumping the gun with that, but I'm really glad that I did, because then for the rest of the year I was going, hey, look, like, I was talking about my book. I had the cover to show people. It felt really real to me. And yeah, like I just went through this editing process. I entered this competition through the Queensland Writers Centre called Publishable, which basically you win it, you get all these contacts with like agents and publishing people and stuff. Nice thing. You get a mentorship as well. It's a great prize. But if you pay a little bit extra, you get the feedback from the people who read the book.
Oh, wow.
And it's like the first 20,000 pages, 20,000 words. So it's not like the whole book.
Yeah.
But it's like, it was such a good opportunity, and I obviously didn't win. But the feedback I got was so lovely, and like the constructive criticism that I got was like, I want to know more about the magic system and what's going on with the siblings, and like, you know, I need to know more about the stuff. And the Queensland Writers Centre rep was like, well, it's the first 20,000 words.
Yeah.
Like, I assume you're gonna do that.
There's gonna be more.
So that was like really encouraging. And I just kept on, like, every few months I'd finish another sort of quite big changes draft, and I'd give it to more people. They'd give me feedback, and it just went around and around, and then
Fantastic.
yeah, eventually published. And yeah, it's been, I have enjoyed so much about it. And then you know, I have to hop on Instagram and I'm like, oh God.
Yeah. It's that next stage, isn't it? It's the publicity, it's the pushing, it's trying to convince people to be interested and read it and buy it.
A
lot of work. So do you write for yourself or for a particular audience?
Yeah, like absolutely for myself. I mean, I've done a degree. I know, you know, what makes a good book, and I take that into account. Like I am trying to write something that I would be proud to read and that I want to reread. I think that it's a good sign when you like rereading your writing. And like I want to connect with people. I think that that's the best thing about art, is connecting with people. But that actually is still writing for myself, because it's trying to put the most authentic version of me out there, so that it can be the most genuine and sincere connection possible with the audience. I think like the best possible reaction that you can get, and it's a reaction I've been really lucky to get a few times, is people saying like, wow, me too. And because the main character's dad was emotionally abusive, it resonates with people who've been in a similar situation. And like, it's a complex relationship too, because there were good times, and that's, you know, like that's real. And so when people, you know, say that me too, when it's speaking to their own experiences, they're not my experiences, they're not my feelings, it's a really personal thing to read a book. But that in itself is still really special, that something that I've written has provoked feelings with someone else. Like, it's a really collaborative thing, I think, making art. I think, like, you know, when giraffes are born, 2 minutes later they're up
standing,
and they're running with the herd, and they're like, it's not to say they're not vulnerable, obviously they're pretty vulnerable, but they're like little mini giraffes. They're cooked. But when babies are born, we cry. That's what we've got. We make this really loud sound, and it makes our parents, the people around us, go, okay, I'm going to help you, I'm going to comfort you, I'm going to connect with you, give you what it is that you need, and soothe you, so that, you know, because that's what you're communicating with me. And I think that that's what art is. I like, even when, you know, because obviously sometimes you cry when you're alone, and you don't want people to see you crying, but I think that you kind of do always. Like, it is still that very instinctive emotional response down there that is inbuilt into what it is to be human. I'm crying because I need comfort, because I need release. And I think that art, even when we're not showing it to people, even when it's buried on the hard drive, stashed in the attic, no one can see it, I think it still is, I need to connect with someone. I can't tell my story with by straight up just explaining it to you. Maybe I can, but it's not as real because it's it's not getting you involved in a perspective of a character that we can both sort of see ourselves in, and maybe you've got parts that aren't related to me, and it's through this story that is extraordinary and strange and different and fantasy and magic and all of these things. I've never been a king. I've, like all of these different things, but like through what I've written, there is something really honest there, and that I think is what art is.
And we connect to the emotion generated and the experiences a character feels more than anything.
Exactly.
I mean, I write sci-fi. I've never been in space. I have no idea what that would feel like. But it's that connection between characters and between the reader and the writer, I think, it really generates that emotion.
And sometimes you don't realize that what you're writing is authentic to you until you've written it. And then you're looking back on it and you go, why was it that I was doing a non-binary main character here? What's that's a strange feeling that I resonate really hard with. Okay, that's a new discovery.
Let's run with it. Yep. Exactly. So you mentioned that there is a really Australian feel to the stories. What in your mind makes this romantasy Australian?
Yeah, so obviously there's the setting. In the first chapter, I have Leo thinking about the capital city of his country, which is the smallest one in Australia. And I do want to say, like, one of my beta readers thought that maybe the countries were the states. Absolutely not the case. Because like that's I guess how we think of Australia is as these boundaries, but there's no reason for those to be the boundaries. Like the Murray River's pretty like that's pretty convenient to do a state line, but the Indigenous people had a lot of different countries. And that's the case for the world in this one. So smallest country in Australia, and he thinks about the time that there's been kangaroos bouncing through the streets, which is actually something that has happened in Ballarat where I live. So it's like, a little bit of you're like, what are you doing here? Why is this
driving home last night, massive one right on the side of the road. We crawled past it, but it was huge, big muscles.
That'll mess your car up.
Yeah.
I had this sort of setting where, and I wanted to do it chapter 1 because I thought if we've got castles, people are going to make assumptions.
Yeah.
So chuck those kangaroos in there right away.
Yeah.
And I also, there's this bit that's towards the end of the book where Leo thinks that he just wants to get away from the environment that he's in. He wants to get into the bush where it's quiet and the only things that he can smell is the eucalyptus. And like, I've sort of really held on to that nature side of things. And also there's he's really missing the connection that he had with his twin brother who was killed in the incident with his parents as well. So I think that, there's those sorts of elements to it that it's quite important to the characters that they're able to connect with. I love this place. I love our weird tree. I love walking along the creek near my house. I love, hearing the kookaburras that are around. Like, I think I was born in England. I'm a first generation immigrant. And I love going back there to see my family, but it's not the same. I've lived here most of my life now, and it's just, this is so home. And I thought that that's something that these characters can connect with is this sense of place that I think is so powerful. We've got a wonderful environment, and we've got I quite like our culture as well. I like that we're so laid back. You probably would avoid swearing in front of the Prime Minister, but if you did, I don't think he would see it as that big a deal.
She'll be right.
Yeah. And just that relationship that we have that's quite relaxed, that lets us, John Howard used to go on his power walks through the Canberra, and people would just like come up to him. It was like office hours, and he'd have a chat. Like, I think that we've got such a wonderful thing going here. So I sort of wanted to play with that a little bit, and I think that it's the Australian readers who read it will see more of Australia in it than the international readers probably will, because there are little sort of more subtle things like that, like the interactions between people that I think are quite Australian, that perhaps the international readers will be more like, oh yeah, there's kangaroos, that means it's Australian. And
so you mentioned doing a university degree on writing, but you also mentioned fanfic. I'm a massive fanfic reader, so I am right on board with you mentioning that. So what do you think both...
That's why I felt comfortable mentioning it, because I know that you have in previous episodes.
Absolutely. I am massive with my fan fiction. I started with Star Wars books. I was reading IP. I was reading Star Trek books way back when, and now I'm all over the fanfic that's up online. It is my favorite go-to place. So I know I've learned a lot about characterization from fanfic, because that's where you get such massive character development, because the characters are already created. They're created by someone else. The worlds are created by someone else. So what every individual writer brings to it is that view of character and exploring those characters and the depth that you don't get on a TV show or a movie or something like that. So what did you get out of the university work as well as the fanfic? Like, how has that complemented your writing?
So that's a great question, because I think that they're both really essential to my development. In terms of my degree, I think before it, I thought that I read, like I was a huge reader for my entire life. That's been a really important core part of myself. But university taught me how to analyze books, how to see patterns and tropes, and what makes a book, like, instinctively when a book is good. But studying it at university gives you insight into the tools and techniques. And I think doing literature as well as creative writing was incredibly valuable as well, because creative writing, you would be focusing on the writing aspect of things, obviously, and with literature you are analyzing in-depth books. Often you're comparing different books to each other and finding how these two books use the same themes and motifs, how they achieve similar goals, how they differ, and that kind of thing. It also introduced me to more experimental books. I did 2 different classes on experimental literature, and I really like strange books now. Like, there's everyone's obvious example of House of Leaves. Not sure if you've heard of it. Like, so really weird formatting. I love that book. Like, there are things that you can criticize about it, but it is so interesting, and it's doing something. I think that you can have weird books. Like, I've read Horror Store. I can't quite sort of pronounce how it's different, but it's an IKEA book that's a horror book, and it's done with the IKEA manual sort of interspersed in it. And it's a fun book, but I would say that it could easily be read as a book without the IKEA manuals. And I don't think that House of Leaves could be done without the weird things that it does with the formatting. And I think that everything that it does adds to the atmosphere. There's sections where there's like a page this big and the writing's this big, and it's while the character is squeezing through this space, so you're feeling claustrophobic, and it forces you to like turn every page like
really fast.
But and you're getting like this real sense of, and that's so cool. And I really like reading books that are strange like that. Never would have learned of them without university. I think
like the Illuminae files and This Is How It Ends. Like, there's so many unique stories out there.
Yes, absolutely. Love the Illuminae files. Like, that's
so
House of Leaves for young adults. And and yeah, like, so there's such cool things that people are doing with writing, and then like you're really getting in deep with what are they doing, why are they doing it, what is the historical context to what led to it, what made modernism happen, what is the response, and all of those kinds of things, which even if I'd read everyone check out House of Leaves online and I did that, I wouldn't have got the context behind it. And I think that that's incredibly valuable. I really do appreciate that I got the opportunity to do my degree.
Yeah.
On the other side of things, I've written nearly 2 million words of fan fiction.
I get it. Totally get it.
And I think that even if you've got the best theoretical understanding of books in the world, practice is really important.
Yeah.
And I also think, as you sort of were speaking to before, if you've got Star Trek or whatever, like you're looking at Spock, you've got to understand what it is that makes Spock who he is.
Yeah.
Especially if you're putting him in another universe.
Yeah.
How do we make this character still recognizable? And I think the best fanfic is the ones where the situation is completely different to the original story. And yet, sometimes you have this light bulb moment where you go, oh, like that's what makes that character who they are in the series. And I didn't pick up on it in the series. But what you've written has just like transformed my understanding of this media and made me love it even more.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the best parts of fan fiction. And I think that like when you are studying a text that deeply, it's not dissimilar to what I was doing at university,
100%.
where you are looking at media with a lot of intentionality, especially if you're trying to mimic the style. So that teaches you a lot. I think also like when you start publishing fanfic, I always thought that I was a good
instant
writer.
Reaction. Love it.
Like I go back and read my early fan fiction and I'm like, oh god. Like every time someone I haven't taken it down because I think that it's important to see that growth. I don't want to and some people really love the story.
There will be someone out there that if you did would be ropeable.
Yes,
like, where did this go?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But every time someone comments on them, I'm kind of like so tempted to go, please read my other stuff.
Yeah.
I've improved.
This is so much better.
But like when you're developing those skills, when you're sort of beginning as a writer, there are people who are delighted by it.
Yes.
It's their favorite characters. Even if it's a really popular fandom, a really popular pairing, people can't get enough of it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that there's any value in taking constructive criticism from strangers on the internet, because I think that like you don't know what their qualification is. I think that the more qualification they have, the less likely they are to give you constructive criticism on the internet. So I don't think there's any value in that when that happens. But when people compliment something, say, oh my god, your dialogue, like, oh, that's cool, I really felt this sense of space. You reread it and you go, oh, what was I doing, what made this work? And then you sort of see it and you go, okay, how can I mimic this, how can I develop this, how can I, like, if this atmosphere was cool in this story, what can I do to make that the whole point of my next story, to see if I can get that reaction again.
And it's that instant feedback when you do connect with someone too, that you know, I'm on the right track, this is how I feel about it, I'm so glad you're connecting.
Absolutely. And you don't have to edit. I mean, like, proofreading's nice. I'm one of those editors that go sort of people, like I'm quite so I often end up with something that's quite similar on my, like, first draft's pretty much good to go. Like, you can't do that when you're writing a book, or even when you're writing a short story to publish somewhere. You can't just go, I'm going to write for an hour, 2 hours, and then I'm going to publish it, and then people are going to compliment me. It's wonderful. And that's like, if I'm going through a bit of a rut, it's you just go, there's no rules. There's no, I don't have to be good at this. Like, I mean, I'd like to be.
Yeah.
But this is just going to be fun.
But
because
as
I
you
like
say,
writing.
gives you the practice. It gives you that ability to connect. And what I love about it, because I write a lot of flash fiction as well, so a lot of photo prompts, and the same with fan fiction, it's the same story, but every single author comes up with some different way of seeing that interaction or that character or that pairing or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And that to me is amazing. Not only are we voracious readers, we want to know everything about this character. Give me more, give me more. I just, oh, no, 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 I want more. But also you do have that it just shows you that it might be a similar idea in the world, but everyone sees it differently. And everyone, when they write that it just shows you that you can have the same idea as someone, but it's your unique spin on it that makes it so worthwhile reading.
I completely agree. It's why I don't really care about copyright. Like, people published books before copyright was a thing. And they still got paid and it was still fine.
And there's the same tropes, same concepts.
Yeah. And the fact that other people were posting about Merlin and King Arthur did not stop other people. Like, it was fine.
If we're telling people why should they read the Fool? What are you hoping that they'll get out of?
I think, like, if you're listening to this podcast, you probably like Aussie writing. You probably read Aussie books as it is. So you probably have an Australian sense of humor. You probably like stories that can be silly and then sneak in a bit of sincerity and a bit of aching stuff as well. You probably don't see your world in fantasy books that often. If I'm lucky, you don't quite know where you fit in, even when you're in the place that you're supposed to fit in. And you might cope with being under stress by saying something dry, or you might at least find a protagonist that does that pretty easy to love. You might have a soft spot for siblings who would die for each other, but who don't quite know each other. And you're used to being the sibling who has to be the responsible one. And if I'm very lucky, you have a complicated relationship with your dad. I think you might like your fantasy stories to have romance in them, but without it being the whole point. And where, in fact, the relationships between siblings are arguably more important. You like your romance to build over time and be earned, and with characters who actually like each other. I think that's missing from a few fantasy books or from romance books these days. You might like a bit of a forbidden romance, and one with some tension that heats up to, like, where you might have a bit of a blush but fades to black. And make it queer. Make the whole world queer.
Yep. Love it. Love it. So, okay, what would you tell yourself if you could go back in time to talk to a young you?
Time travel is difficult. Like, I think about this more often than I think someone who does not live in a universe where time travel is likely should. Because it's a really interesting philosophical question for me. I think I don't want to change anything. I've got stuff that I regret. I've got stuff that's hurt me, and I think that there are ways that my life could be better, especially at the moment with my back injuries causing, it's not a nice time. However, if I was to take away the complicated relationship I have with my dad, not only would I not have my wonderful book, I also wouldn't have my husband. Like, that, if you start plucking at things, making your life maybe a little bit easier, and you sort of unweave the tapestry. In saying that, I think that, to be honest, I think that me at all ages, but I think especially my younger me, sort of needs to be told, you're doing a good job.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's hard. And it's not your fault that it's hard. It's not anyone's fault, really. I mean, sometimes it's someone's fault. And I don't think that it being hard is for a greater purpose. I don't believe in fate. But I do think that you're going to get through it. There's no option other to get through it. Like that's what you've got to do.
And you're doing okay.
And you're doing okay.
Yeah. So what is on for you for the next 12 months book-wise? Is there the possibility of a sequel coming?
Absolutely.
Yay!
Yeah, I've been working on the sequel. It's difficult to talk too much about it because it's dependent on the ending of the book to
No
sort
spoilers.
of understand.
No spoilers.
I don't want to do that. But I do know a lot of people who finish the book go, well, what happens now? Like there's a lot of questions unanswered. It works sort of as a standalone, where it is a world where you go, oh, I wonder what. But there is a sequel coming,
Awesome.
and I am just having fun with it. I don't know for sure that the people who like the first book are going to come along with me to the second book, because there's going to be a bit of a twist, switching gears a little bit. And even more so with the third book that I've got in my head, just in sort of vague concepts at the moment. So I couldn't stop myself. I wrote half a chapter of it a couple of weeks ago. I'm like, this is finish the second book. I'm like, I just need this little, and I also I've got all these plans for other books that work in this universe, because I think it's so much fun. It's nice when you like the things that you're I've written a novella that is the story from the fool's perspective. And I wrote that after it had actually come out. But now I understand the events of my own book. That
Interesting.
And that I think is fun, because it's written in the form of letters to the fool's dead dad.
Oh wow.
So it's I quite like books that do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think it's just fun how much of a drama monarch the fool is.
Where can people find you online?
So I'm on Instagram as Laura J Fitzwilson. If you go to my website, which is laurajfitzwilson.com, I've got a mailing list that I forget about for months at a time. And, I'm hoping to build that up more. And I'm also on Tumblr as Laurasaurus with an A. Might need to chuck that in the show notes. Laurasaurus with a U, as you would expect it to be, was taken.
Rude.
And I thought this was kind of as a bit of a mirrory thing. That one is so much less professional. I do a lot of fandom stuff on there, but also I do promote the book a little bit.
Just going to take note of that. And any final words for potential readers and writers out there?
Yes, I think we've sort of talked about it a bit in this, but I think that you've just got to love it. Even when you hate it, you know how sometimes kids give you a hard time. There are days when maybe you don't like them so much. You've just got to love them anyway, and that's what it is with writing.
So true.
There's a million ways to make money.
Writing's not one of them.
It's not one of them. Don't do it for that reason. Do it because it's the only way that you can be understood. And yeah, I think it's so easy to go, well, I'm decent at this. My English teacher said it was okay, and I can chuck out a story. And look, if that's what you want to do, then go for it. Like I'm not going to like say don't do that because whatever. But it's got to be about love if you actually want to do it properly.
Yeah.
If you want to connect with people, yeah. Like, and look, if you want to like write books that are chock full of sex scenes that have like the tiniest little flimsy bit of plot connecting them, like that's like
Go
no
for it.
judgment, and also like I'll read them. But you that's still love. That's still communicating. That's still having fun. Like you've got to, it's there's so much to it that you can make into these high vaulted ideas of art or these ideas of productivity. And I think it just all comes down to, do you enjoy writing? If so, do it.
Love it. Great message. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Laura. It has been an absolute pleasure to chat with you, and hopefully we will be seeing you again when book 2 and potentially more come out.
Yeah, I'd love that.
Fantastic. Well, thank you once again for the fabulous Laura Fitzwilson. Make sure you have a look online and grab her book if that is indeed your fancy. And thank you for joining us for the Australian Book Lovers podcast today, and have a fabulous rest of your day.
Yeah, you too.
Bye for now. And thank you once again to the amazing Laura Fitzwilson for chatting to me and with me about The Fool. So what a fantastic book, and I'm definitely looking forward to the sequel that is coming along, as well as, by the sound of it, an entire conglomerate of worlds and books and stories, because that sort of thing does tend to trigger off, tell me more about this person. I want to know about this person.
Yes.
That's what I love about a series.
Yes, and maybe for writing The Good, the Bad, and the Undecided, where you put all those bits that you want about in another whole book.
In another whole book. Yes, that was crazy. And I'm working on book 2 of that at the moment. And yeah, I'm feeling more short stories coming too.
Very good. More, bring me more. I love the Australian-based Flora. It's just fantastic. Yeah, look, because we tend to go back to you, but why? And I really like no character is 100% right. Life deadlines, and she's got university and fiction, and you guys don't, need to dive into the fan fiction.
Which I didn't mention at the time. That the best part about fan fiction is, of course, it is not monetary. People do not make money off this. It is for fans
purely
only.
Just for the enjoyment.
It is purely for the enjoyment.
Yeah.
No one makes money off it. They shouldn't, because it's not our work. It's someone else's work, but it is just for expanding the universe, and because we can't get them out of our heads sometimes.
Anyway. It's like my eldest and Torchwood. She loves Torchwood, and Doctor Who, of course. But Torchwood is
Doctor
Who.
So. Yeah, I'm right there with Doctor Who. And...
that's someone who went to. Where did you go to? Not the Final Fantasy. What was the
with D&D, with going to see Critical Role, we saw that too. Talk about fan fiction. Oh my God.
So all of those, build people's curiosity and creativity. So fantastic. So Laura, thanks for putting up on the website, and you can have a look and see that. Yes, very good. Okay.
All right.
I think we need a quote.
We do need a quote.
Yeah, I've only got one today. And look, it's tricky. I thought, given some of the things that Laura was talking about, there was one by Pema Chodron, which is, nothing ever goes away until it has taught us what we need to know.
Oh, I like that.
You like that one? So if you find you're still doing something, you better have a bit of a look at it and go, oh, okay, I haven't really learned what I need to know as yet. So nothing ever goes away until it has taught us what we need to know. Yeah.
That's lovely.
Yeah.
Well, I was also thinking along those lines and thinking of what writing does to us when we escape into these worlds and just given the world around us, sometimes it's easier to just escape into an imaginary world. It's wonderful. So I've got this one. I can shake off everything as I write. My sorrows disappear. My courage is reborn, which is Anne Frank. So I thought that was,
Yeah, I really like that.
isn't
Yeah,
that lovely?
nice. That is
Yeah.
lovely. Oh, words are magic, aren't they?
Aren't they? They just, and books and reading. Reading is great.
Yeah,
It teaches empathy. It's
it
just
does.
tells us about ourselves and other people. And
Yes.
it's just
It
fun.
does.
It's
I was
fun.
reading a couple of stories in Aurealis. I don't even know what I'm up
Yes.
to. I'm way behind. But I was reading a little something by Stephen, who was on the
Yes.
the
Yes,
podcast
I
a while
chatted with him.
back, and then
Yeah.
a story by Michael Pryor, which then I had to stop because we actually
Yes.
arrived and I haven't finished it yet. So I arrived at the beach house.
Isn't
But
it
anyway,
great?
and I just thought then I'd also been reading one called Cut by an American artist, and my apologies, I can't remember their name, but I got it on, the Kindle. You get the free
Oh,
books
yes.
to start, and it's often the start of a series. I think, damn it, I'll have to read the rest of this series, which is always the way. But
Always
it's
away.
post-apocalyptic,
Mm.
um, and I love science behind it because me, I'm a bit of a healthy sciencey person, and cholera and TB have kind of wiped things out, but then there's a group, sort of right-wing radicals, and then they're just they go into the environmental science and all of those kind of things. People are so clever, and
Yeah.
this author was in a room with all these environmental scientists and said, well, how can we change our carbon footprint? And they said, well, you probably won't need to because pandemics will kill us get to it. It's like,
Which is always great. Thank
yeah,
you. Thank you, science.
in the
Yeah.
know. Anyway, and I just thought, reading those sort of two or three bits, I really have to write more. I have to just sort of get back into doing lots and lots of writing. And there's easy to have
Yes.
just got to set you. So yes, I have been editing the old stuff and thinking, oh, actually, there are bits are not there, but it's probably time to get it out of my hands and get someone to go, just get it out there
Do
or
it.
do that. So we're nearly there.
Yes.
We are nearly
Yay.
there, indeed. All right, and I know you have been working hard on your onto
I have been.
uh,
Yeah.
press
Well,
and
I say I've been working. No, I haven't. I
oh.
want to work harder and I haven't been. So my heart is there, but my brain
Yes.
is not. But
Yeah.
yes, I am in that editing stage where you have to be brutal. You have to add in bits, cut bits, and just put the work in. It's the work
Working.
part. It's not the fun creativity part. It's the work part, and that can be hard. So
And I'm pretty sure it was Stephen King I saw had put out yeah, I think he was offering for people to just finish the book kind of thing. You can imagine
yeah,
Stephen King saying, but yes, and I thought that's it. If you could just go, look after my bills and
yes.
my groceries and my nutrition and hydration for all of those things. Sorry, just turning that little off. So look after all of those things in the short term. I could just sit and do that, but
Oh, wouldn't it be great?
wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be great? So
And I am
let's
sitting here waiting for your book too, like this.
right. Okay. Guilt me into it. That works. That also works. Thank you.
Anytime. I'm here for you.
Oh, and then you build up, and that expectation was that the book, January Gilchrist's book, the final
Yeah.
chapter about, if you're guilty, anybody else is writing better than me. I think, everyone else is writing, it's better than mine.
I relate. I relate so hard. Yeah.
You don't need to because yours is beautiful. I love the voice you have in your books. Anyway, all right, we could go
Yes.
on for days, but in fact,
Yeah.
we've got another little surprise for you at the end of this. We have Laura Fitzwilson reading a little bit from The Fool. So we need to sign
So
off
enjoyable.
and let you
We
have a
do.
listen. So as you go
Yes.
on your way, don't forget to
Mhm.
read
Yes.
more,
Read
read
more.
more
Read
Aussie
more. Aussie.
Aussie books. All right, and thank you, Gibbs has come out. I think, don't know if you can hear the clackety clack on. I'll just show you a little Gibbsy. There he is. Yes, now there he goes. Yeah, he wants me to open the door, so now I can do that. Now that we're finished,
Of course.
thanks everybody for
Time to go.
listening, and bye for now. Stay tuned for Laura's reading. Bye.
Bye.
In the midst of their planning, the kitchen staff were forced to fill the room, as Gallant had predicted. To their credit, they didn't make a fuss over the fact that Leo was there. A few times Leo heard a joke being cut off as if its teller reconsidered whether they wanted it heard, and Gallant threw more than a few dirty looks in the two chefs' direction as they swore at the people moving around them, but this was easy enough to ignore. And Leo didn't hate the sense of something like normalcy, at least until the fool loped in like an emu with too many legs. Of several heavy pans and their lids clattering to the floor, hand dropping to his hip where his sword rested. He didn't especially like wearing one all the time. It reminded him of his teenage years when it had been fashionable to appear ready to duel at a moment's notice, and when he and his friends would bear their blunted blades over just about anything, and he'd outgrown that. But being able to defend himself was the reason he could, at least within the confines of the castle, walk around and have his meetings uninhibited by guards dogging his every step. The fool burst out from between a couple of servers who were trying to clean its mess up, and took two great running strides before it leapt into a cartwheel over the table. Papers took flight as its palms caught on them and pushed them into the air. Leo stood, fumbled to grab them, and didn't catch a single one before they fell to the floor. The fool grabbed Leo by his waist and flung him to the side so that it could pick up the papers itself. Leo narrowly avoided crashing into a cook with a very sharp knife and drew in breath to scold the fool for pulling this kind of stunt in the kitchen of all places, when he turned and saw that the fool was very quickly and efficiently folding the papers into darts. The fool threw one, and Leo watched impotently as the menu he had invested considerable time and effort into danced a lazy loop-de-loop before it fell neatly into the pot of soup the other cook was stirring. "That's it!" Gallant roared. "Out of my kitchen!" "I serve the king as well as you," the fool thundered back, its usually sing-song voice replaced with something deep and authoritative that more than matched Gallant despite its mottling. It did that sometimes, choosing from a catalogue of impersonations whatever would cause the most disruption. "If you serve me, then do as I say," Leo said as evenly as he could, "and leave." "Your Grace, I could sooner peel off my face than leave this place," the fool cried, sing-song again. It flung itself at Leo's feet, prompting a frustrated noise from the kitchen hand who found her path suddenly blocked. "Perhaps we had better continue this another time," Forster said calmly. "Fine," Leo said through his teeth. "Fine." He wanted very badly to stomp on the fool's fingers, but he resisted the urge. He hated how he always had to choose the higher road. He had asked Forster, trying not to sound like a petulant child, whether they could perhaps get rid of the fool, exchange it for another if it was absolutely impossible to do away with the institution altogether. Forster had been sympathetic, perhaps because Leo had been dripping wet at the time, but firm. Fools had absolute immunity. Absolute. There needed to be someone who could criticize the leadership of the country without consequence. They were the Empress's eyes and acted with her judgment. Apparently. Leo didn't think the Empress would push him into a fountain 5 minutes before a meeting that Leo was admittedly not looking forward to. But who was he to say? Leo privately thought that the Empress had been alive for too long and thought it was funny to make her descendants deal with a mild to moderate humiliation to balance their Trinity-given right to rule. "Well," Leo demanded of the fool, "are you coming with me?" It was the last thing he wanted, except for them both to remain here, disrupting people who were only trying to do what Leo assumed was a high-pressure job. Gallant had spent a not insignificant amount of time during the meeting appealing to Leo's emotions, telling him how food was the best way that people expressed their regard for one another, the ultimate way that a household was judged. Abigail had agreed that food was the obvious gesture of welcome, but insisted that while a person whose environment was catered to would never notice what a maid did, one who was left with dirty towels and a foul-smelling room would feel more insulted than a person whose soup wasn't quite piping hot. Leo thought they both had good points, even if he didn't like the energy they said them with, and found himself more inspired than ever to avoid being a nuisance to the household staff if at all possible. The fool lifted its head and smiled at Leo beatifically, then leapt to its feet. It bowed gravely, putting itself further in the way of yet more staff. Your Majesty, I would follow you to the bottom of the Fluvius River, it said, eyes wide. Fine, Leo said, turning on his heel and leaving. Forster remained, unfolding darts and arranging a time for a follow-up meeting. Unfortunately, the fool kept its word and followed. I would follow you to the tip-top of Mount Rough, the fool continued, affecting an exaggeratedly subservient posture at Leo's side as they climbed the steps, the bells on its shoes jangling ceaselessly. That won't be necessary, Leo said. I don't really like the cold.
Let's meet again. Where magic happens.